Bitcoin on the monthly, look at this. RSI down here, pushing towards the lows. On-chain indicators, pushing towards the lows. Bitcoin gold, RSI down here, pushing towards the lows. Total crypto market cap, excluding Bitcoin and stablecoins, pushing towards the lows. Oversold. In the comments on X, crypto content creators, there's a big divide, game over or game on, bear market or bull market. I actually want to explore every scenario in this video. I want to obviously present to you my thoughts. We're going to really be kind of digging into Bitcoin gold a little bit because I am a little curious in terms of what is going on here as it relates to the business cycle that we've been talking a lot about. I want to look at altcoins. I want to look at Bitcoin. I do want to look at a couple different on-chain metrics. I've not looked at these charts in some time, especially on the YouTube channel. So I want to kind of go over what it means for potential bottoming out for the cycle. So if you're out there on your way in, please smash that like button. It means a lot to me. Good morning to you. Appreciate you cruising through. Smash that like. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. We are just getting started. I've been doing these videos for 8 years. I feel like I'm always just getting started. We are still early, everybody. It's crazy. We're going to be looking at the total crypto market cap chart, excluding Bitcoin and stablecoins, and it's sitting at $746 billion market cap. That's where we are. And that's how early we are, which is crazy to me. And what's funny is I started my YouTube channel, and then we're going to get into the analysis right here. 2018, and we were not that far below where we are right now. So it's been a wild journey, a wild ride. So I want to start in terms of Bitcoin, and I want to look at this video that I saw from Coinvo Trading. Check this out real quick. Then we'll talk about it on the charts.
More specifically, the trend line on the RSI that's held since pretty much 2011. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and now the 5th retest, okay? It has held literally every time. And it has also marked the bottom of this chart here. And whenever the Bitcoin to gold chart goes up, well, then that means Bitcoin is outperforming gold. Historically, you're not going to get an opportunity like this one for another few years. And if you don't...
This is telling, and I'm going to talk about it on the chart, the Bitcoin versus the Bitcoin and gold chart. As you see, he exemplifies very nicely that it is oversold, and it's kind of just at this level. It's the end of what he said, an opportunity we haven't seen in years. Thanks, Jesse, for the comment. Shout out to you, bro. And it made me think it's not just Bitcoin gold. When I'm looking at charts right now, and I want to be very real, like I talk about all the time, it can go to zero. It's just kind of a broad thing that I say, which is what helps me manage my risk. But at the end of the day, even if we continue falling in the short to midterm and it doesn't go to zero, these indicators and everything that we're looking at right now, Bitcoin on the monthly, altcoins, this is a weekly, entering this oversold area, which we're going to talk about, that we got the bottom of the previous bear market, June 2022, the bottom of 2018. It takes years for these setups to occur. And crypto could continue falling. It really could. And we've been discussing that heavily when we compare the end of QT in 2019. Crypto kept falling. And it's like we were approaching bear market lows again, it seemed, in 2019. Before it was finally over. It's that post-QT normalization. But either way, with where we are in the cycle, with where we are in crypto, been doing content for so long, as an investor for so long, we're approaching a setup, whether you think the bottom is here in the next week or two, or you think the bottom will be in a few months, we're approaching a setup that really does take years. And we're going to look at the Bitcoin gold chart, but I wanted to mention just that last thing that he said. It really occurred to me. So many people are so divisive over, attacking each other. How could you be bullish? How could you be bearish? That's so ridiculous. I'm pretty sure even people that are thinking we're falling into a bear market and just getting started, I'm pretty sure even on the very zoomed out, they're bullish, right? They're in the crypto space. it's like everybody's on the same side and people need to chill with that. But every single time it led to Bitcoin completely outperforming gold. 2011, 2015, 2019, 2022. That is this Bitcoin RSI and what it's doing, the Bitcoin versus gold RSI. So I have this chart, and this chart doesn't actually go back as far as his does, but you can just see this trend, right? And the potential bottoming out right now of Bitcoin versus gold. What's interesting is this oversold back here was the 2018 bear market right here. This next one right here was the June 2022 bear market low right here. And then this one is where we are right now. And it's even lower. It's a lower low versus gold. But what I wanted to integrate into this, and I'm sorry if you're tired of hearing about it, but it's just a very awesome indicator for us on the macro. And it's while all that's happening, what's this business cycle doing? And I think that is so telling right now, because right now we just had a huge print yesterday, and it really is kind of still new news, but we had this huge print on this PMI, the business cycle chart, which I think we need to wait 1 or 2 more prints to see if this is a real indicator that we are actually entering this economic expansion that we're looking for. But this happened, right? And the thing that strikes me about it is if you look at, even when we bottomed back here in 2022 versus gold, when Bitcoin bottomed versus gold, you can see a very massive difference. And this is what I want to point out. It's not just the PMI had been getting ready to continue crashing, right? It's not just that we had years of suppression like we've never seen on the PMI, but it's that QT just ended QT just started in June 2022, and Bitcoin versus gold made this move. We have something entirely different happening besides just the print. We have QT that just ended, and we have Bitcoin versus gold. Bitcoin is so oversold versus gold. I just think, exactly like this clip said, this is such an indicator that just suggests this is an opportunity that takes years to form and we haven't seen in years. So I just think that's, very important just to point out to you. I wanted to point it out to you. So that's number one. That's Bitcoin versus gold. And if you go look at the gold chart, I just want to point this out, not as anything other than just crazy, is look how overbought gold is right now. If we go back, the last time gold was this overbought was basically in the 70s, right? And it's like, is it going to approach this area of overbought that we haven't seen in the late 60s, since the late 60s? That's how overbought gold is right now. And if we kind of zoom back in, then we start getting clarity in terms of crypto operating in this environment. This is when we see crypto bull markets start, is whenever gold tops out. So I wanted to point that out to you. We'll continue monitoring. Going over, I do want to look at the altcoin charts, but before I do, I just want to speak to some things in terms of Bitcoin. It's just this whole concept of, is it game over or is it game on? Like there's the people that are game on. I've been game on for years. Even if you go look at the excluding Bitcoin and stablecoins chart, I've just been game on for years. We've not had the game on move, the parabolic move happen yet, but that's my stance. There are people that are like, it's kind of game over, because if you go to a Bitcoin chart, well, look at this. The 20-month breaking back here, 2018 bear market. Here's the previous bear market entry, May 2022. I've already spoken so much about the difference in terms of the macroeconomics, right? PMI was falling there. PMI was falling here. QT just started here. QT had just started here. And actually, that's not even right. QT started here in June 2022. I've spoken nonstop about it. I'll still keep speaking about it. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to explore something with you. And that is this. There's this conflict for me, because besides being macro bullish for years, and besides being still just macro bullish on the crypto space, especially now when we see prints like this on the PMI after years of contraction, here's the PMI chart. When we expand, bull markets happen for crypto. Besides all of that, the conflict is this. it's this post QT normalization that I've been talking a lot about in my videos. And that is, we can have so many bullish ingredients for crypto, and we do more than I think in any previous cycle, especially after just record breaking contraction. But this one time, only one ever time before when QT ended, we just saw continued consolidation on the charts. And I've just been saying, prepare for just a post QT dip. It happened last cycle. Let's continue to monitor over the months ahead that it could happen. And so that's the conflict. Like, we're, in my view, towards the end of a bear market in a similar fashion as back here, but there's still potential room for downside. And I say that it's like, we could visit the 50-month moving average on Bitcoin, and that's in the 50s. And it's difficult for me to like present to people my macro bull thesis while that's happening, because it's like, oh man, this is terrible. You know, the bear market has started. But in my view, it's like the bear market's almost over, right? And you can even just go, if we want to use just that 20-month moving average, 2018, that fall below the 20-month moving average, that was it. Like, the bear market was over in 30 to 60 days. That was the bottom, basically. So my thing is now, yeah, I mean, the next couple months, or even just month, we might capitulate. But when we're looking at all these indicators, the Bitcoin gold, how oversold it is, and we'll look at altcoin charts in just a moment, we will be entering what has taken years to get to. And this opportunity is this type of opportunity that does take years. So, I just saw this comment. He always says the same. There is room to the downside. I want to encourage you, like, if you're scouring YouTube for crypto predictions, or like a crypto YouTuber that's going to tell you and predict to you what's going to happen next, show you the targets. This is what's happening next, everybody. Get in, buy. You're playing the most wrong, dangerous game you could possibly play as an investor. $1 billion asset managers don't play that game. Smart retail investors don't play that game. You're laughing at me saying there's room to downside. Everybody, there's always room for downside, and there's always room for upside. The key to being a good investor is to visualize every scenario possible and manage your own risks. That's it. That's how you become a good investor. That's how you become a good macro investor. To become a very bad investor, to become an investor that loses a lot of money, you do whatever this person's doing, is laughing at people that are anticipating all scenarios, is laughing at analysts that are presenting all different scenarios. It's not how you invest. I don't give financial advice on this YouTube channel. I really don't. I don't tell people go buy, go sell. But if I gave any advice, it's to do the opposite of whatever this person is in the comments is doing. And sadly, the loud majority is this person with the clown face emojis, the laughy emojis, because they're on YouTube. They're looking for that secret sauce. They're looking for that YouTuber that's going to have like a 99% hit rate in terms of telling them when to buy and when to sell. They're going to lose. They're going to lose it all. So don't listen to that person, everybody. There's always room for downside. The core thesis to my approach to crypto is it could all go to zero, right? At the same time, it could all go parabolic. My thing is, am I balanced in my risk appetite and my exposure to the market? Because I don't want to be overexposed if it goes to zero, and I don't want to be underexposed if it goes parabolic. But throughout that story, there are hints. There are especially macroeconomic hints to how these cycles work. And so what I'm trying to do is present those hints to you. In my view, we are towards the end of a bear market, a multi-year, really tough bear market, and I think it's going to be good. But with that being said, again, to round out my point, post-quantitative tightening dip that happened in 2019, it's just something that's just been on my mind. So what I wanted to do was, besides talking about all the macroeconomics, is I wanted to also just look at some on-chain indicators. So this is in our intelligence system. We have, I mean, I talk about our risk models all the time that are going to help, they help our members figure out, when am I going to sell at high risk scores? When am I going to accumulate at low risk scores? And we have the accumulation planner. I just need to record the tutorial for it, and we're going to be launching it probably this week. Besides all that, I talk about it a lot. We have on-chain metrics back here. And what I wanted to look at with you, and we have a free trial in the link below if you would like to get back here and use some of our tools, see if you like it. But MVRV Z-score, and I want to look at long-term holder MVRV. So let's start here, because what I want to try and show you is data that is not our risk models. And I was just talking to Alessandro, who has helped me build this system. I want to look at data that's not our risk models. And the reason for that is because our risk models do not contain this on-chain metric data. So there's no bias between the two. So we can look at a risk model, which I'm going to, and we can plan accordingly, but then we can go and we can see, how does this line up with on-chain metrics? And this is where analysis becomes, I think, very valuable, especially not only when we start getting towards tops, like, dude, look at this risk model. It's at a very high risk score. I would need to sell, but also look at MVRV Z-score. It's time. It's overheated. It's time to sell. I want to look at the flip side, and that is this conversation about Bitcoin going lower, crypto going lower. What does that look like? So MVRV Z-score tells you, let me zoom in here, if Bitcoin is trading way above or way below what people paid for it on average. When the score is high, Bitcoin's overpriced. When it's super low, Bitcoin's underpriced. That's what's going on here on this chart. So if we look at it, is it low or high? It's absolutely not towards the top of a bull market. If you can go back to this chart to 2011, actually it goes back to 2010. It's absolutely not towards the top of a bull market. And if you look at our signal score, it's low. It's a 27. But what I want to do, is, as we have this conversation about, man, are we entering a new business cycle? Are we about to enter a bull market? Is there more room post QT like we had in 2019 to the downside? What does that look like? Now these indicators, not just our risk model, which is sitting at a 28, by the way, for Bitcoin, our risk model is suggesting it's getting close to a bottom. 98% of the time after 1 year, the Bitcoin risk score of 28, Bitcoin price was higher. And Ethereum right now is at a 22, to give you some context. These risk scores are low. Point being, how does that line up with something like an on-chain metrics MVRV Z-score? It's at a 27. And if we zoom in, you can just see it's 1.12. So what I wanted to do was, I wanted to go look, what was this doing back here, right? And if you just go look at June 2022 into the bear market, or the end, kind of towards the end of the bottom here, you can see the signal score a 25, right? And from that June entry to that kind of bottoming out area in November, it took a little bit of time, June to November, to bottom at a 25 low signal score. But then I go back to the last bear market and I see, okay, let's try and find a signal score similar to what we are at right now. Here's a 29 in November 2018. And you can see it bottomed. Bitcoin bottomed, crypto bottomed around 1 month later. It only took a month, and it got to around a 23, MVRV Z-score of negative 0.43, and it bottomed. So point being, as I do this analysis, bringing into play the on-chain metrics, the bottom very well could be in right now, or like, very close. But if not, it is close to being in. And we are approaching, in terms of just this one indicator, I'm not even talking about Bitcoin momentum oscillators or Bitcoin charts or price charts on crypto. I'm just saying, in terms of every single bear market low that we see here going back to 2011, if you look at this, we are approaching this bottoming out phase. So that's that one. If we go to this one, long-term holder MVRV tracks the profit loss of Bitcoin's long-term holders, coins that haven't moved in 155 plus days. It compares what these diamond hands paid for their Bitcoin to what it's worth now. So as some guidance before we look at the actual chart, below 1 equals accumulation zone. So long-term holders buying more when this is below 1. Above 3.5 is a risk zone. So in other words, above 3.5, it's like start thinking about selling. And if you're thinking about selling, it's above 3.5. Also go look at the risk models. What are they doing? Is Bitcoin risk model like up here in the 80s or 90s, 100? Like what's going on? But going back to the chart, let's look at it. Because now we're going to get more insights. And that is this. You can look at this from different kind of perspectives on the chart. I want to look at it from historical signals, and I want to have kind of this heat map built in. But look at this. Right now, if we look at the score, we are low 28. And if we look at, in terms of zoomed in, where the score is, 1.59. So going back to our little area here, we are in fair value. The market right now is balanced, and we are not yet in accumulation zone below 1, according to this indicator, right? If you go to our risk models, anybody that would be using an accumulation planner will likely be kind of setting up some type of accumulation in the 20s for a Bitcoin risk score. But this indicator is suggesting that it could actually go a little bit lower. So how much lower? Well, look at this. Here is the previous low, November 2022. We got a signal of 11. That was the bottom. Here is 2018. We had a signal of 2. The MVRV, the score was 0.69. And right now we are at 1.128. So there's absolutely room to go lower, is my point when we're talking about on-chain metrics. And so the reason I'm bringing that up is because and I wanted to bring this up. I wanted to dig into this with these two indicators is like, you can see very clearly how we are at this, like, just completely not exiting a bull market and going into a bear market range. And I think we are very much towards the end of a bear market. But I've been very much trying to explain to you, or explain in my videos, how a post-quantitative tightening dip is in play. Continued consolidation is in play. But I wanted to give you real bear data. Because one thing that I've noticed is, like, people that are bullish right now on, it could be PMI, it could be whatever reason they're bullish, right? It seems like it's like there's absolutely no room for exploring the bear thesis. And I do want to explore bear thesis. And I want to show you, not just from a charting perspective, how, you know, some lower prices are possible, but also from on-chain type of indicators, right? But at the very same time, I just want to point this out to you. This might not go any lower, right? Because if we look at just this chart, here's where kind of I think we are in the cycle. And that is right here. I mean, put aside COVID, but we're in this post-QT dip. We're in this post-QT consolidation. So the question is, if we go back to a Bitcoin chart, it's kind of like, are we going to get how much longer of downside similar to post-QT if downside continues? So I wanted to explain that, and I wanted to go over to the total crypto market cap chart and just look at this chart, because right now, if we're looking at this, it is exactly like what was mentioned from CoinVo trading over here. It takes years. He's alluding to the Bitcoin gold oversold setup, but just in where we are, in terms of where we are, it takes years to get here, everybody. It really does. It takes years to get here. Four-year cycle is alive and well. Hey, Dan, remember a few months ago when you made an episode about how QT was over and huge liquidity was incoming? I don't get these comments, man. Anybody that watches my analysis knows that since I've been talking about QT being over, I've been preparing for post-quantitative tightening dip. It's literally been on my chart for like since QT ended 2 months ago. Here's QT ending. Well, actually, QT ended in July, so right here. This post-QT dip, everybody. This is what this video is really exploring. Here's post-QT dip. This is what I've been talking about for months, okay? I never said QT's over, liquidity incoming. If anything, I've been saying we don't need QE. All we need is post-QT normalization. All we need is the liquidity extraction to stop. And then eventually PMI expansion on these charts. And you know what's crazy is it's actually playing out exactly like that. Post-QT, we're dipping, similar to post-QT 2019. And right now we just got a big print. So watch my content before commenting. Just seeing what y'all are saying. Smash that like, dude. We got like 2,500 people, 140 likes. I know we're crashing, but come on. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for your videos and sharing your knowledge. I believe in crypto is manipulation. That's the other thing. The manipulation piece to all of it is definitely one ingredient. I'm glancing over at the comments because I like seeing sentiment. So I meant to look at a risk model. I mean, it's for me, you know, I've been here before. It's, you know, it's like prolonged. It's different in a sense, but every time we just get in these environments, oversold, it looks like it's game over. It's the same type of it's the same type of sentiment. But going over here to the Bitcoin risk model, at the score of 28, price was higher 77% of the time after 3 months, which shows even in the short to midterm how quick this can change. 98% of the time after 1 year. So like, and what's crazy about that is like that could be in a scenario where even in 3 months, we might just capitulate into the low 60s and then all of a sudden bounce out of there. And then 2 months later, we're higher than where price is now, or 3 months later, we're higher to where price is now. But this is why I'm trying to bring up how close to a bottom that I think we are. And I'm trying to just show you in terms of different on-chain metrics where we are. Because we're absolutely in this environment right now, everybody, where like the opportunity is insane. If you're a macro investor, if you're not like a short-term investor, and I think most of them are gone, the ones that are just like trying to get into crypto to make like 100x real quick. But if you're not just somebody that's on YouTube trying to find like, you know, give me the prediction, are we, you know, I need my 1000x. If you're just an investor in crypto, every piece of data I'm showing you, you don't get a better setup. It really does take years to be where we are right now. And I saw this post, whales are opening longs aggressively. This story continues. Whales are aggressively opening longs while, you know, much of retail is leaving, and that's what's happening. And so we've been here before, but going over here to I wanted to look at this because this also exemplifies put aside on-chain metrics, put aside risk models. Risk models can go lower. Ethereum's right now to 22. We could fall, you know, into bottoming out areas. Notice this though. Even at this bottom here in July 2022, when Ethereum finally bottomed, look at the risk score. Ethereum was at a 23. It's literally, you know, I think maybe a 22. Yeah, June 17th, a 22 risk. We are towards the bottom, everybody. Whales are accumulating. While many of you see the sentiment in my comments, many of you see a lot of people calling for an extensive bear market that's just beginning. I think it's good to you know, to think about it. I think it's good to explore it. I think it's good to be ready for it. I won't sit here and say the Bears are completely wrong at all. But I don't think it's a good idea to be like, dude, 4-year cycle, you're an idiot. You're a clown. And like, because it turned out